Good evening, everybody. My name is Jarrett Graver. I live over on off Lancaster on Galway. We are going to be hosting tonight's Meet the Candidates night. Going to give everybody up at the front table a few minutes to introduce themselves before we start. Just to go over a few things. Each person will have 2 minutes to give their beginning speech. We are going to take questions from anybody in the audience. They will have 2 minutes to answer each one of those questions. Questions can be posed to an individual or to a group of individuals. And then at the end of the night, after we're done with all the questions, they will be given 3 minutes to make the closing remarks. We do ask that if you ask a question, let the candidates speak. It's not going to be a back and forth between the audience and the candidates. This is a night to get to know their stance, not to have an argument on the floor. Just by a show of hands, is there anybody in the audience that intends to ask a question tonight? We have a lot that was submitted to the box, so that's not a bad thing. All right, so if we can, for the mayoral candidates, the non-seated candidates, go ahead and get a mic to, we'll start with Dawn. One mic? Yeah. We're gonna go Dawn, Tom, and then Mayor Mike. Dawn, let me know whenever you're ready and we'll start your time.
Okay. It is said that change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. The good old boys. This is a term I, Dawn Durbin, running for mayor, have heard while I was campaigning, referring to our elected officials. According to the Urban Dictionary, this term is used to describe a group that is usually friendly to others, but at the same time, the good old boys will often double-cross others if they think one of their own is in trouble or in need of help. It's when a leader unabashedly chooses favorites among their subordinates. There is no separation of business and friendship here. We are made to fear speaking up on the corruption and unfairness that happens because we are a small town and people involved are our neighbors, our co-workers, and our friends. I've been a resident for 40 years. I've volunteered for many years at Galway School, home days, recreation coach, and countless safety affairs and events. I consider myself a public servant. I have dedicated my life and career to serving the public. I served on the Brooklyn Heights Fire Department as firefighter paramedic for 15 years. I furthered my education and became a registered nurse. As a self-made single mother, I continued to work hard and achieve a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree. As a registered nurse, I am an advocate for patient safety and health. As your mayor, I will continue to advocate, serve, and protect you and our village. Together we will unite to keep our community strong and also restructure what has been neglected and poorly managed. I have read every council minute from 2012 as this is all that's available online. I've read our charter, the revised master plan, and I've looked over countless ordinances. I've read and heard fabricated accomplishments of my opposing candidates and their so-called financial experience that clearly failed our village. You can't have it both ways, saying that you're under budget for years. You need to question this. If constantly under budget, then how did our village get into a position that we desperately need to have income tax increase 3 years ago within months of the mayor's re-election, pay cuts in 2010, and the mayor purchasing a vehicle of $900 over his budgeted amount, documented in a 2015 meeting? Our leaders were constantly warned of the depleting funds, but continue to misuse our tax dollars. So now ask yourself, do you honestly trust these people to continue to spend our hard-earned tax dollars? If you elect the same people, you get the same results.
Please finish up.
That allowed our village to crumble and rot. The infrastructure is embarrassing, the aging and outdated village buildings, rusted rotting greenhouses, neglected abandoned businesses, and village parks in grave despair were all once exceptional and beautiful. I love our village. We still have so much potential, and together we can reform and restore our hometown.
Tom Lay. I am asking for your vote for mayor in the upcoming election. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and hopefully this is educational for you to make an informed decision. I've been in council for 12 years. I was council president. I'm also president of the Men's Service Club. I run the Home Days Committee for 10 years, and the Easter Bunny, and just various other things. For the last 8 years, I've expressed my concern about the financial stability of the village. And 4 years ago, when I ran for mayor, the mayor told the story of where we're at financially, and I told a different story. And what happened? He told everybody that we were in great financial shape, we had a record year, and not to believe the lies told by his opponent. Well, 6 months later, we did have a municipal tax increase going from 2 to 2.5%. Why? Because our general fund, which had once been $11.6 million, was down to $400,000. The general fund is not a surplus. The general fund the surplus is defined as an excess that is not needed. And so, but good news is there's a solution. And because I only have 2 minutes here, I'll be talking about that in the final speech. Tomorrow there's 500 emails going out that goes over my entire plan that most of you will get to see. Thank you.
My name is Mike Prosick. I'm kind of branded with Brooklyn Heights after 21 years as Mayor Mike. I make no apologies for that. I'm proud to represent Brooklyn Heights. I serve on many county committees, state committees. I've represented our village testifying in Columbus, in Washington, D.C. I don't just stay under the bubble because it's important that we're out there for very many reasons. I hope that there are questions that come up to justify some of the stuff that you've already heard. Our municipal income tax was something that was talked about for years, and I was the one that cautioned the council because I wanted to keep our businesses in the same playing field as everyone else. As other communities increased their percentage by 0.5%, he was on council, or off, or on, or back off, but he supported that tax increase that he now is saying was needed because of me. Council sets the budget. Council pays all the expenditures. Council approves all of my hirings by their advice and consent. This is called a weak mayor system so that there are checks and balances in the system. If you've read our charter, then you should have a good understanding as to how vacancies are filled. Maybe someone will ask about that tonight. Our municipal income tax increase did produce what then Clerk Treasurer Tim Clymer advertised as a $1.1 million increase in our revenue. We achieved that goal as planned. But you know what? Since then, we added another $1.1 million because of the aggressive and very lucky and very blessed economic development. I hope to answer questions on economic development, safety, new vehicles, whatever that was said before. Again, I don't buy anything. Council does. Upper park renovations, grant funding, and of course, enough is enough, deny the permit. And I would caution, because I've lived here since 1978, and dirty politics, employee assassinations, petty jealousies, and just outright lies have no place in Brooklyn Heights. They never have. Thank you.
Okay, if we could start with Shane, you want to start for the council side?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to come out this evening. My name is Shane Tolman. As a long-term resident, many of you already know me, and if not, I'm looking forward to meeting you. My family moved to Brooklyn Heights in 1999 on West 5th Street. My wife and I are now raising our 2 sons just 10 houses down from the home I grew up in. Our 2 sons are Nathan, who is 11, and Grayson, who is 7, and both attend our nationally recognized Cuyahoga Heights High School system, just as I did, from 1st grade through graduation. I work for the Ohio Lottery, the Cleveland Indians, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm an active member of the community. I've been a member of the Men's Service Club for the last several years, and I'm currently the vice president of the organization. I've also been a part of the Ad Hoc Park Committee since it was formed in 2019, and I'm actively assisting coaching my son's recreational sports teams. The opportunity to serve on Village Council will allow me the chance to help our community move forward by sharing fresh new ideas and solutions for opportunities of improvement, fiscal responsibility, and enhancements to the place we call home. It is important to me to keep Brooklyn Heights a desired, safe location for all of our residents and future residents alike. With fresh faces, new ideas, input, and support from the community, we can make improvements and ensure we reach new heights and thrive well into the 21st century. Brooklyn Heights has given me a place to call home for the last 20 years and many more to come. Now it's my turn to give back to the village. I will work to provide a place for everyone from seniors, long-term residents, and new families, a place they can be proud to call home. Thank you.
Ray.
Good evening. My name is Ray Burzens, and I'm one of the candidates for Village Council. My wife Susan and I moved to Brooklyn Heights about 20 years ago. We purchased the house from her grandmother's estate because of the great school system, our safety forces, and the village services that are available. Those things are as important to us today as they were when we decided to move here. It's been a great place to raise our now 16-year-old son, Luke. I've been a volunteer with the Boy Scouts ever since Luke joined. Now we are blessed that he and several others in our troop are either working on or have completed their Eagle Scout projects. Many of you may recognize me from being the security down in the park for many years. Hopefully you don't recognize me as being a jailer. I am a yearly supporter of the Shop with a Cop program that helps so many of our village children at Christmas. I believe that along with my family, the health and safety of our village residents is a priority. That's why I was strongly against the expansion permit for the landfill. I'm looking forward to speaking with you one-on-one if you're interested, as I am out campaigning. I would like to wrap up by thanking all of you for doing your part to keep this village an amazing place and for taking the time away from your families this evening to be with us. I would also like to thank Laurel and Jared Graver and the Women's Service Club for hosting this evening's event. Thank you.
Mr. Moore.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Walsh. I'm a councilman in the village. I'd like to thank all the candidates. I'd like to thank the Gravers for running this show. And I'd like to first and lastly thank all of you for coming tonight. I have been a resident for 35 years. I was appointed to council in 2010 and ran for re-election 2013 and 2017. A little bit about me and my family. I am the general manager and sales manager for a plumbing supply house called Wind Supply, located right over at Hinckley Industrial Parkway. My wife has been a nurse at University Hospitals for 35 years. We were blessed with 3 children. My oldest, Joe, is an attorney for Jones Day. My middle son, Tom, is a doctor, and he is right now at Dartmouth Hitchcock Hospital doing his pediatric residency. And then my daughter, Molly, is the youngest, being a proud dad here, youngest assignment editor for NBC News in Chicago. I am truly blessed because all 3 of my children have my wife's brains. So it works out very, very well. I'd like to ask a show of hands. How many people have ever received a Matt Walsh flyer? Now, my wife doesn't go to Giant Eagle anymore with me after Mass. Too many people come up to me, and a 15-minute shopping thing takes about an hour. She goes, no more there, no more. Okay, but I'm in it to help people, bottom line. I send flyers out 2 or 3 times a year. Some of them are newsletters, but some of them are also just to say, hey, if you need help, let me help you. And I really don't help anybody. I'm a conduit to the people in the village or where these people need help. But I try my best to assist everybody in the village. In fact, it was was interesting. About a year ago, a group of firemen had stopped me and yelled out, "Hey, Walsh, we just got done finishing putting batteries in smoke detectors." And lo and behold, we saw so many Walsh flyers on refrigerator doors. And I had to laugh because it's either one or two things. One, they obviously need some help sometimes and call me up. Or number two, they're all on diets and they see my chubby face and it's a deterrent for them to open up the refrigerator. So, but I appreciate everybody coming out tonight and thank you very much.
Jen?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Presott, and I am running for Village Council. I am a 49-year resident and a 1987 graduate of Cuyahoga High Schools. I am currently your senior council member and have served for 13 years proudly. I've been regularly attending council meetings for the last 24 years, and I continue to stay visible within the community through the last 25 years of being with my husband. I am enthusiastic about the village. I am the proud owner of Charlie's Plant Place and also the owner of one of our historical homes on Schaff Road. There are several features about Brooklyn Heights. We all know why we live here. Low taxes, great schools, excellent services, but its people are what I actually appreciate more than anything. We come together in good times, we come together in bad times. Sometimes we get along, sometimes we don't, but to me, it's somewhat like a family. And that's how we grew up here in Brooklyn Heights, but also for those who did attend Cuyahoga High Schools, that's the same feeling you have, is having friendships that last well beyond your years at the school as well. What I bring to the table, being on your council, I've got a strong work ethic with your employees and your department heads. I'm a team player. I have a strong work ethic and a flexible schedule. I looked over my speech that I gave at this event 4 years ago, and I had 4 goals that I had read off that I wanted to see through. All of them have been somewhat touched and or met. We cleaned up the Geist property, which I am now proud to be standing over by NEDEC. That was a lot of work on all of our parts. We revisited the master plan. We increased revenue, and we put more contributions into our capital fund. And the big one was pursuing the park improvements, and that is coming for June of 22.
15 seconds.
So over the next 4 years, what I'm hoping to do is revisit some of the items that came up on our master plan to increase revenues, to include more deposits into our capital fund, and also look into our mini park. That seems to be something that's a big concern of those that live up in the Dorset Galway area. So hopefully on November 2nd, I will have your support. Thank you.
You want to go ahead?
Thanks, Gravers, you guys rock. Thank you to the Women's Service Club for sponsoring this event, and thanks to all of you for attending. This crowd's amazing. It is hard to believe how fast time has flown by since June of 2018 when I was originally appointed as the clerk treasurer for this village. While I'm running unopposed this November for the position, I feel it's important to speak to all of you tonight and tell you how things have been going from my seat, a financial perspective, and give you the same confidence that you've instilled in me moving forward. Thinking back to that summer is such a surreal feeling because so much has happened over the last 3 years. We all watched the corner of Tuxedo develop into a beautiful business landscape. We have seen our numbers explode due to the diligent economic development, purchased 10 new vehicles, and have wished well to some great employees that have retired from this village, all while welcoming aboard a bunch of new and eager employees. While this amazing stuff is all front and center for all of us taxpayers to appreciate, so much has happened behind the scenes that we as a team are all very proud of as well. A few important aspects of my personal philosophy to be successful are building relationships, setting and achieving goals, and teamwork. I will expand on this later tonight with my closing remarks. Before I turn it over to the next speaker, I'd like to give a quick recap of an impactful experience that occurred last year. Everything's moving along, right? We have a full year of a 0.5% tax increase under our belt. Mayor's hammering economic development. Super exciting from my perspective as the finance numbers guy. And then COVID hits. The initial reaction was like everybody else, to protect everyone, install our new processes and procedures, and shift on the fly by following the ever-changing recommendations that came out every single day. And of course, charge the grocery store for every roll of toilet paper that existed. We as a team had a ton of decisions to make, and we confidently made them while facing this adversity. Well, once all that dust settled and the new norm set in, I had this uneasy feeling about me. Holy cow, we were doing so good, and now what? How is it going to impact our village? Fearing the worst and losing plenty of sleep that I will never get back. We were in uncharted territory, and the fear factor was at an unprecedented level. Guess who remained unfazed? This guy right here, Mayor Mike. His leadership and knowledge of how our 2 square mile work and how the local businesses operate eventually calmed us all like a warm glass of milk or bourbon. Not only did we come out of the COVID crisis unscathed, we came out better than we could have ever imagined. We were financially sound and fortifying our safety and service all at the same time. But don't get me wrong, we're certainly not settled or satisfied. There's plenty of work that still needs to be done. And one thing is for sure, that work ethic in this village is so tenacious that a pandemic can't stop us. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions tonight.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you all for being here. There's a lot of questions to be asked, and judging by the opening remarks, I just see how little 2 minutes is. So I don't, I feel for you guys, I do. Try to keep them under 2 minutes. I'll remind you when there's 15 seconds left. There's a lot of questions, so I'm sure we don't want to be here till midnight. Try your best to be respectful of the time. Again, I'll remind you when there's 15 seconds left and try to cut it as short as you can. We're going to cut back and forth between mayoral candidate questions and village council questions. We do have one question for the treasurer. I'll get that in as early as I can. So we are going to start with a question for the mayoral candidates, and this one is going to be asked directly of Mayor Mike. What COVID-19 policies are or have been in place specifically covering 1, work from home, return to office, 2, quarantining after exposure, and 3, mask wearing in village offices, and 4, vaccine testing?
Well, as of this morning, because these things tend to change minute by minute, I guess I'll start with vaccine first. There is no mandate in Brooklyn Heights for employees to become vaccinated. It's still their choice. As far as masks go, we recommend masks are worn inside our buildings. We have shields up for safety, but again, that's an individual choice. There is no mask mandate in place in Brooklyn Heights. Our meetings are held hybrid right now. What that means is when the governor lifted some of the mandates back in July, went to council and I said, what do you want to do with our meetings? And they agreed that under the circumstances and not knowing that we were going to end up with another surge, we went hybrid. So you can attend a council meeting, you can attend a committee meeting, either in person or by hybrid. Employees, same thing. Employees' safety is of the utmost concern for me. I have employees that were anxious to come back and sit at their desk. I have other employees that continue to prefer to work remotely when possible. The point is, folks, the work is all being done. We are still the epitome of jealousness of how we run our mayor's court with the Supreme Court of Ohio, and we get the job done. If you see some employees at work and you see other employees, the chairs are empty, that does not mean that they are not working, and that does not mean that the work is falling behind. Did I get all 4 points, Jared?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do I ask if there's any other questions or?
Nope.
No?
All right, next question is for Ms. Durbin. I'm gonna read these questions verbatim, folks. Some of them aren't written very well, so I'm going to read them verbatim. Ms. Durbin, your campaign flyer lists her residency and employment in the village, her family ties with Dennis Durbin, and numerous activities that parents generally do with and for their children. How does any of this specifically qualify Ms. Durbin to serve as mayor of Brooklyn Heights?
So working for the village for 15 years, I am a public servant. I have served our village. I can't remember. What else did you say? Volunteering.
You want me to reread the question?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Like, can you read one at a time? Or, okay, read them all again.
Ms. Durbin's campaign flyer lists her residency and employment in the village, her family ties to Dennis Durbin, and numerous activities that parents generally do with and for their children. How does any of this specifically qualify Ms. Durbin to serve as mayor of Brooklyn Heights?
So volunteering in the community of the, as the Cuyahoga Heights is our community's school system, and that's where my time spends with all three of my kids. Generally, not every single parent volunteers, but I have volunteered my time and dedicated my time for 18 years with my kids. My dad, being a retired Brooklyn Heights police officer, since I was a teenager, we've talked about things in the village. This is going on. This is what happened at the council meeting. This is what we should do different. This is what we love about it. It's all involved with our village. Working in the village as a firefighter, serving the public, just serving the public, being out there with public relations. I started with my first job was public relations and doing the smoke detector. I would organize the smoke detector schedules and go with, install them. I think I've answered each question.
Actually, the next question's for you as well. It says, Dawn, do you intend to give up your day job to fulfill the duties of mayor?
I currently work part-time as a registered nurse for University Hospitals, and I work for the Browns games, which are on Sundays, and I think there's one Thursday game, which I don't even work on during the week, so I would be able to fulfill my time.
The next question is for the three mayoral candidates as well. Please reiterate the duties of mayor. Please list all that you will need to do as mayor. Please answer in the following order: Dawn, Tom, Mayor Mike. You want me to read that again? Please reiterate the duties of the mayor. Please list all that you will need to do as mayor. Please answer in this order: Dawn, Tom, and Mayor Mike.
So the duty of the mayor is to run the administrative. That would be employee accountability, which I don't feel there's any employee accountability here. I can be more specific of how I would change that. I don't know if you're asking for that or you just want specific roles, but we need some type of, we just write in timesheets right now. We need a time clock. We need computer time check, like when you get on the computer, that checks you in at your time. That's what I had when I worked at Kaiser Healthman. We need evaluation models, peer reviews, goal tracking. We need to restructure these positions. We're paying over $150,000 in community service just for a director and 2 secretaries. So as administrative again, handling, we're making part-time people salary, and this is all while we're told that we're sinking, we're plummeting in money and in funds, and take-home cars are being given to building department.
the duties of the mayor is the administration of the village. So they oversee all the department heads to make sure they're enforcing, that they're doing what's in the best interest of Brooklyn Heights. It's also in charge of economic development. And the mayor mentioned about how the mayor does not vote on expenditures. And that's absolutely true. The council votes on expenditures, their legislation. But every year I've been on council, we've been under budget. And we now are currently 6.7% under budget. And then we need to do everything we can to increase the revenues because the revenues aren't keeping up with the expenditures. So even with the 1.1% tax, $1.1 million increase in funding just from the tax increase, we should have $4 million in the general fund just from that tax increase. We are in better shape now, we have 2.6 million, but we're not keeping up with that. So the focus for the mayor needs to be on the administration and on in generating more revenue to keep up with expenses.
Mayor Mike.
The charter defines the office of the mayor as doing whatever is necessary to be the mayor and run the village. I've kept a tradition for 21 years, and I do sit on the bench of mayor's court, which is something that there's really no real training for. Again, some of this banter that's being thrown about, the numbers are public knowledge, folks. They're on our website. Don't listen to what somebody's making up. Go there and look for yourself. Our expenditures are far below our revenues this year. We've added almost $1.5 million to our surplus that was mentioned earlier. Our economic development that council has charged me with, which I was always involved with anyhow. I can tell you that real quick, since we're taking time with the duties. From 2015 to 2017, it brought in 47 different companies. Tom is right. In 2017, the future did look like it needed attention. That's why council worked together, him included, and recommended what Tim Clymer told us we needed to do 4 or 5 years earlier, is that 0.5% tax increase. But since then, 2008, 18, 8 new businesses, 2019, 9, 2020, 13, so far this year, 8. I've brought in huge companies. That's why our revenue is now up an additional $1 million. And you know what, folks? When I mentioned 8 companies this year, they haven't even started withholding. And we had $1 million revenue, municipal income tax revenue receipt in August, in 1 month. That's never happened. We were hoping to collect $6.5 million this year, and we are on pace to go well over $7 million. So economic development, in closing, let me just say that right now, you know what's empty in the village of Brooklyn Heights other than nooks and crannies and a little space here, a little office here? Pretty much nothing. I have 1 warehouse left that vacated earlier this year on Valley Belt. I have the FedEx building that the business that was in there was sold, and they moved out last year during COVID. And then, of course, the Haida building that has been in existence for over 30 years at the end of Keynote, and they built that big new facility on Hinckley Parkway. So now I actually have a professional office building available. Everything else is full, folks. It's full. Thank you.
Next question is going to be posed to all candidates, mayoral and village council. You can go ahead and start with Mayor Mike and pass it down, or start at the end and pass it down. What significant jobs have each of you held in the past 5 years?
That's what they asked.
Well, I have a full-time job, and I am the sales manager and general manager for Wind Supply. With 30 employees, it's a $25 million company. It keeps me really busy. In regards, I think that's what they're asking to see, right? Okay. So that's what I do.
Did that say 5 years, Jerry?
5 years.
You've been with them 5 years?
4 years.
past 13 years, I've been a building maintenance carpenter with Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District.
For 22 years, I've owned my own landscape company, and when I first took this position, it had about 3 less employees than full-time employees for the Village of Brooklyn Heights. Because of COVID, we've lost a lot of employees, and we're desperately trying to get more employees. So if you know anybody that needs a job,
I had my own business, Nationwide Insurance Agency, for almost 30 years. They bought me and 40 other agents out about 8 years ago, so I've been retired. But again, I've devoted full-time and attention 24/7 for 21 years to this job. So my previous employment, while it ended 8 years ago, I'm still working harder than ever.
I worked in customer service all my time after high school, and once I was with my husband, I just started helping my father work in the family business, and that's what I do now. And we have a special needs child, so my husband now runs his own company from home. So we expanded our greenhouse into 2 seasons a year, and I stayed home to take care of our son.
I spent the majority of my career as a financial advisor selling pension plans directly to business owners and brought in over $30 million in assets in that. 3 years ago, I met a couple that owned a security company that has over 400 employees, 200 police officers, another 200 armed and unarmed officers. And they brought me in to be part of their management team and to build their business. I helped them secure a contract for Hopkins Airport for $1.7 million for security there. They put me in charge out there to manage all the employees, and I'm in charge of hiring and firing. I'm in charge of scheduling and payroll out there. And if elected, I will be giving that up to devote full time to the duties of mayor.
For the last 9 years, I worked for the Ohio Lottery. Our office is actually located down here in Brooklyn Heights. And then for 5 years, I've also worked for the Cleveland Indians and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So if you're watching the games at home, I'm running the scoreboard that's on TV.
Specifically for the past 5 years, I've been registered nurse at university hospitals. I'm in pain management right now, and I work for the Browns as a registered nurse. That's as needed when I pick up the time. As a nurse, I delegate duties to the medical assistant, to the LPNs, secretaries, and that's my employment for the past 5 years.
Okay, thank you. We'll just go ahead and leave it with you because it's going to come back down this way now. How important is it to you as an elected official to treat each other with respect and integrity and not create altercations?
I think that's essential. I actually touched on not understanding why sometimes that, like I said, when I read all of the meeting minutes, some of them flat out sounded like a circus going on with altercations. I've read prosecutor notes, I've read profanity being said or arguments. I've never sat through or led any staff meeting and had any altercations. Nobody ever had to hold me back. Nobody held anybody else back. There was no profanity. So I'm just, it's shocked to have read some of the things that I've come across.
I think getting along with your workers is very important. I mean, I've never had a conflict at any of my jobs ever. If you can't get along with the people you work with, then you shouldn't be working there, because when you go to work, it's a job. People have different opinions, and an opinion's not necessarily right. It's one person's opinion, one thing, and mine is another. Compromise and come up with a better solution.
I believe it is important that everybody treats everybody with respect, but everybody doesn't have to agree. If everybody agreed all the time, we wouldn't need 5 council people, we'd only need 1. So everybody brings a different perspective and background to the meetings, and you need to respect their opinion on it, but that's why we have committee meetings, that's why we have discussions, so we can decide together what's in the best interest of Brooklyn Heights.
As I've been out campaigning and talking to some of the residents, they've asked me about the council meetings and the committee meetings, trying to understand what it is that they read on their ordinance sheet. what I've explained to residents through the years, talking with them, is I wish we would get more public to come to our meetings. Several years back, the entire council had gone to represent really the school when Safeguard had pulled out. We went to the Valley View council meeting together, and I was stunned to see the volume of people that turn out in their community, and it would be nice if more people had come out to see what it is that we actually do for you. There are 2 council meetings a month. I will say that they all can back me that have been serving you, that through COVID, we were meeting weekly, to a point where when we didn't have a meeting, we were calling each other thinking we missed something on our calendar. To get to the answer that I'm going with is, we're passionate about what we do. I'm proud to serve the people. I am your voice. I get phone calls. I bring that information to the floor. That's what we do. We might not always see eye to eye, but we're very passionate about the job that we're bringing forward to make the village the best it can be for you. Does it get heated sometimes? It does. It's just like in your household, you know, you might see eye to eye about a ball game or something you read in the news. But we do represent you very well. And if you look at what is happening in your community, your taxes, your lower taxes, and your revenue, it's very clear that we are doing a good job.
I've worked with a lot of different council people over the years, going back to the 9 years that I spent on council back in 1991. I live in a world of cliches because I'm an old guy, and that taught me a lot of life's lessons. Treat people like you want to be treated. That's what I do in court. That's what I try to do at council meetings. Sure, people disagree sometimes. Sometimes things get heated. But up until a few years ago, the legislative branch of our council appeared to me to be a lot more concerned with taking care of residents than what they looked like they were going to take credit for, or put a blocker up so that someone else wouldn't try to take credit. So Dawn, when you're reading some of those minutes, that's exactly what you're seeing, in my opinion, of course. Usually, things are hammered out in committee, and by the time they get to the floor of council, pretty much people know where they stand. What I've seen the last few years, and especially the last year or so, is we couldn't decide on a lawn cutting contract. 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. Said, we're cutting grass next week, folks. You gotta pass an emergency ordinance. That's insane to me. Hospitalization renewal, 3-2. So we had to go through regular ordinance procedures. It cost the village an extra $7,000 the first month. It cost the village an extra $7,000 the second month before the new ordinance kicked in. So I intervened and went back with our carrier and got them to waive those fees that council caused to take your money and apply it to something because they were stubborn enough to not compromise or get along. So again, treat people like you want to be treated, and you know what? Rely on people that are smarter than you. I do it every day. I ask the experts, I ask the engineers. I don't say I know more than you do about that, because that just impedes progress. We have a good thing going here, folks, and we're going to keep going in that direction.
You can answer.
I love coming to work every day. When I first started as the rec director in Brooklyn Heights, I didn't know what to expect. Working with people that I coached with, seen at baseball games around the village, friends, neighbors. And then some of those people became, obviously, my coworkers. And it's been joyous for 5 years that I've been involved. I wake up every day, can't wait to go to work. Val and Dana's names are regular around my house. Kids mention them all the time. How are your other wives doing? And yeah, I can't say enough good things about the people that I work with. There's a lot of smart people that work here. Department heads are eager to continue to evolve, and that's the things that I love about this village.
I've spent my entire career since high school working construction. You want to talk about a lot of people with strong attitudes, at times vulgar mouths, but in addition to that, I spent many years with Parma's Auxiliary Police volunteering, and as I mentioned before, I was part of the Brooklyn Heights Police Department as a security down in the park. That taught me a lot about de-escalating situations. You cannot get into a discussion and have multiple different opinions without having disagreements. The importance is to, as mentioned before, treat everybody with respect, treat everybody the way you would like to be treated, and most importantly, you take the time to de-escalate and calm situations down.
The current council of Tom Lahiff, myself, Jen Presott, Joe Blados, and Mark Lasky. We don't always agree. And whoever said it on here, if we're agreeing 5-0, 5-0, there's something wrong. Okay? So we don't always agree. And do we get in arguments? Sure. Try not to take it personally. And the bottom line is, we really do, I think, feel that we're trying to vote for the best thing for the village. And totally agree with the Golden Rule.
Thank you. If you could pass the mic down to the other end. The next question is for Dawn. To candidate Dawn Durbin, if you were elected mayor and there were complaints about a resident's yard being 18 inches long grass in the rear yard with a possibility of rats, how would you have your building department handle it? Did you get that?
I lived it.
Oh.
Thank you. I lived it. So wait, are we talking about me as mayor or me as, because this is what happened to me?
Yeah, I think it would, as mayor, how would you have your building department handle that?
What had happened, so what had happened was the building department trespassed on my property while my kids were home, or the vehicle does not show like this, Brooklyn Heights, a small emblem. So my children are home and a stranger is on our property, and that's very worrisome to me. I'm fine if somebody wants to complain and tell me that there was high grass, but when you're trespassing is another story. And so I brought that attention to our police department, who were wonderful, and to the mayor, who said he would follow up with me after the holiday weekend, because I think it was July 4th or 5th that this happened, July 3rd. And I never got a call back to this date. Nobody followed up with me. I had council members drive by my house and make fun of it, and another council member wrote to me stating how much they thought this was wrong. Other residents thinking this is wrong, this person trespassed into our house. So I would definitely handle my building department, and the different, I would make sure I would speak to the residents that had complaints. The rat situation was during the pandemic. I mean, really, somebody's gonna say we have, look at Brooklyn Heights in our homes, we don't have rats. So, maybe some people have mice because you have the backyards. Personally, I did not have mice. There was no droppings, no nothing. But that's where that question came from. And I answered it.
And then the next question is for Tom. Having seen no campaign materials from Tom Lahiff as of today, 9/27/2021, can the candidate describe his qualifications to serve as mayor other than length of residency and family information?
Well, out of the 630 houses I've met with just under 300 people, and most of the people have seen my campaign literature. It talks about it talks about the 12 years on council. It talks about working as president of the Men's Service Club, and it talks about about the details of the presentation that instead of going out and pitching, I take that time to listen to the residents. So I ask them any questions and concerns, and I write that down. So that's why I do a video presentation, so they can watch that on their own leisure, and they can get my entire plan. But it goes over my qualifications as far as financial advisor and as far as working and managing people.
Thanks, Tom. Next question will be again for Dawn. On your mayoral campaign page, you stated that you are retired from the fire department, when in fact you took a leave of absence in July of 2016 and then resigned in April of 2017. How would you explain that as being retired?
I have it right here, it doesn't say I'm retired. But, I would think that if you left an employment, you were retired from it. Is that not? I mean, you're retired when you stop working somewhere. But it's right here. I don't have retired on there. And what else am I supposed to explain? I'm sorry.
No, that's it. All right, Mr. Leahy. In the last 7 years, you have had 4 different jobs, not counting councilman for Village of Brooklyn Heights or delivering papers for the Plain Dealer that you have referenced in previous campaigns. To an employer, that would be a concerning amount of movement between jobs when hiring an employee. You spoke in your last 2 campaigns about the millions of dollars you were responsible for at the last company, but that position you held for barely 2 years. You painted a picture for voters that you were extremely qualified in the financial business world, but it appears like you can't hold a stable job for long. Can you explain what happened?
Okay, actually, I delivered papers for 30 years, newspapers while our kids were growing up. I started my own group in health insurance agency while I was building up. And I continue to do it because I like making money while everybody else is sleeping. And it paid for our house. As far as I don't know where somebody came up with the different jobs. I've been 3 years with Safe Choice Security. Before that, I had my own company for 3 years with it was a tech company called We Build Apps. I was a partner in. It was a tech company that we got a contract. I negotiated a contract at Crocker Park to provide proximity marketing. It failed from a technology standpoint. And before that, I spent 6 years with Raymond, who's an accounting firm that I did securities. I was a Series 7 financial advisor, and I did business development for them. So I brought in contracts for audits. I brought in contracts for municipality audits and for overall financial services.
Thank you. Next question will be for the council members, unseated members first, followed by seated members. How many meetings, council or committee, have you attended in the past 6 months?
I've been on a handful of Zooms, and I've been in person when you're allowed to be in person. With my job working at Dean Cabs, they kind of start at the same time. But if I'm elected your council member, I obviously will put those dates aside, depending on how I have to work those days. But when I was allowed in the building, I was there. When there was issues going on that mean a lot to me, I was there. And I'm a part of the ad hoc committee, and I was at those meetings. I was recently at the park board meeting where we discussed community day, and we set that up and we got things rolling. So I would say, the last 6 months I've been 4 or 5, I would say, on Zoom. I don't think I've been at any in person just because of my job.
Sure. Would you consider when it's a council meeting, if it's like a special committee meeting beforehand, are those in addition to?
I would say.
Okay. Then I would say in the past 6 months, including special meetings, council meetings, Zoom meetings, the health board, when we went down to the Board of Health, as well as everything else, I'd say probably somewhere in the range of 12 to 15 meetings in the past 6 months.
I have attended every meeting past 6 months and then some, including having to go up to Wisconsin to see a very, very ill relative, driving back on the Indiana Turnpike, going into a rest stop, setting myself up at 7:30 in the evening to do the Zoom meeting. On vacation this summer, while my family all went out to the beach, I said, hey, I gotta sit in the bedroom and do the Zoom meeting. So I've attended every meeting. You know, there are times where people are gonna miss, whether it's family and stuff like that. I mean, it just happens. But I've attended every single meeting and then some.
All of them.
Okay, the next question is gonna be for everybody, so you might as well just send it down either way. We'll start at the end. Can all candidates for mayor and council please provide their thoughts on the potential uses for the village-owned property on Shaft Road?
I actually questioned that too because I wanted to know, I know there were talks in one of the meetings about somebody developing it into 48 small ranch or homes, and right now the market is hot for land and homes, and I would hope that we are getting top dollar. So I was wondering where it was even advertised. I know the talks that were in with the property was a friend of the mayor. So I just wonder, is this being advertised for top dollar?
I would love to see it, many different things. I think I would love a field house, I would love a rec center, but a lot of those things that aren't necessarily feasible. People mentioned dog parks over by the Tuxedo Park, and I don't think that's a good spot for it. Maybe Shaft Road would be a good spot for it, but I think a field house would be ideal if you ask me. You can have many different events in there. I mean, Independence has one, Valley View has a community center, but I mean, the more teams you get in there, the more money you make. I mean, I think the field house would be the best route for that.
About 18 years ago, there was a presentation made about putting a gated community there for some senior housing and for cluster homes. And it was turned out at the time, and I was probably a mistake. We probably shouldn't have done that. I was not on council at the time. But that is something that we're looking at. The mayor is talking to people on it, but that's a possibility.
I would say most likely something residential. My time on the Shaft Road area, in several years of campaigning, there's an expressed concern about noise and trucks and various hours of operation if we were to bring in something commercial, light industrial, something along that line. So the residents have expressed a concern about what will be on that property. They all want to see something happen with it, as I do. I grew up on Shaft Road and I live off of Shaft Road, so that's been the hub of my entire life, being here in Brooklyn Heights all these years. So I want to make sure that whatever we do with it, which I think is, I can feel it coming down the pipe pretty soon, is going to be something that will be of best interest for the village and as well for the residents in the area.
Yes, it's true. I get inquiries occasionally from developers of all shapes and sizes. Currently, what Dawn mentioned was my former next-door neighbor moved to Florida, George Gluss, Jeremy Zick's stepfather and mom. They like doing developments. They've done them in other parts of Northeast Ohio, so they made an inquiry, brought a developer up here to talk to myself and the engineer. They're in the very early stages, but the first preliminary plan that the gentleman put in front of us was correctly advertised. It was 45 detached senior type housing individual homes, because that's how the land is zoned currently. But to this point, we've never advertised the property as being for sale. It's available, it's vacant, and we'll talk to anyone, but it's zoned residential, folks. It would take a complete zoning change to put anything but houses there, so I'll keep you apprised.
3-story rooftop patio type houses.
Follow up with that. Obviously, as the mayor pointed out, the zoning has a lot to do with it. Would I love to see a business there that could continue to make income? Yes, except, as we can tell from the disaster of the landfills that we have back there right now, that didn't work out so well. So I would like to, at some point in time, see it developed into private homes so that we can continue having kind of upscale houses as we do off parts of Shaft right now.
Nothing. I like green space. You know, I'm all for development, trust me, okay, and I'm all for growing our village. But I like green space.
Thank everybody. Aaron, there's something for you. How did the tax increase impact us in the first year and in the future? Have we seen any of the revenue from it?
Absolutely. So the tax increase went into effect July of 2018. And 1 year later, so the next June 30th, we saw about that $1 million increase. It was a little higher because economic development was also picking up. So there was some money there factored in as well. And if we didn't do anything from June of 2019 through today, the line for our income would be like this. The tax increase was a one-time thing. It adds $1 million. It's not going to compound and add $1 million more, and $1 million more, and $1 million more. We should not have $4 million in surplus because of the tax increase. The reason why we have more money is because of economic development. So the tax increase was a very loose Band-Aid, and I'm on the record saying this. It was enough to get us out of the kind of scary area that we were in, right? I'm just sitting down and I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, oh yeah, this tax increase is going to be great. We need this. Believe it when I see it. A year later I see it, as well as an extra couple $100,000, like I said, because economic development was also kicking in. So again, we can't get stagnant, right? Like that loose Band-Aid of that tax increase would be gobbled up right now from inflation. The reason why we are successful in operating so beautifully is because of the economic development.
Thanks. Next question is for Village Council. Again, we're going to start with the unseated candidates and then followed by the seated candidates. How important is it that each resident maintains their property according to Village of Brooklyn Heights building codes? If not maintained, what does the building department do to enforce the coded ordinances? Sorry, buddy.
That's fine. So, obviously, both for your neighbor's satisfaction, hopefully your own pride in your property, and pride in the village, as well as property values, it's important to keep your house. You want to keep your property up to date. You don't want to fall behind on the maintenance of your property. Again, being in construction for years, I certainly have seen what happens when you don't maintain your house, how quickly things can dilapidate. As far as what you have the building department do and or are there acceptable practices, I'm not fully aware of that within the village. I don't know exactly what they are permitted to do, but that's my answer.
I think it's very important to keep up with your, it says a lot about the person that lives there. Like, trim your bushes every couple of weeks, cut your grass. You should cut your grass weekly. It should look presentable for everybody. And as far as what we should do, I feel like, I don't know if there's anything in place now, but I thought you can get a fine if your yard wasn't looking like it should be. And I feel like eventually if somebody gets a fine for the yard looking not good, they're gonna start cutting their grass and paying attention. They're gonna be sick of paying fines. In my opinion, if somebody gets a speeding ticket and they pay it, are they gonna keep speeding for that same area? No. I mean, it's the same thing. You take care of your yard or you get fined.
It's actually a mayor question. We obviously take pride in our homes. We would hope our neighbors take pride in their homes. From our understanding at our council meetings, the reports that we get from our building official is, we paid a visit to a home. The way I'm to understand it is if there's a complaint in, it's taken care of. He goes to look at the complaint, assesses the situation, contacts the homeowner, there's notices left, and sometimes it takes several notices to get the job done. But again, it actually is a mayor question.
I've lived in this village for 35 years. I've owned 3 homes. I live on Park Drive. Years ago, I could walk down every street and tell you who was a renter. Lawns were unkept, garbage cans in the front for 2 days. We have come a long way. Is it perfect? No. And our building inspectors, Nino and Howard, not only do I think a great job, but they're very, very understanding. They're very nurturing. They try to work with people. And that's what we need to continue to do. I'm a bit anal with my yard. I trim and edge, and it's not always perfect and all that. But like Mr. Burson said, property values, and it's a shame if someone's working really hard to keep their yard and their backyard up, and the next door neighbor doesn't feel like cutting the grass. So I think they've done a terrific job, and leave it at that.
Thank you. Yep. The next question, Jen, I'm going to give it to you because your name's in the question. It wasn't labeled, it was just a question involving your husband. It says, please list all special projects that have been performed by Joe Presott in the last 12 months.
Well, to be honest, I can't answer that question. I can tell you one thing that I know for sure that he's done. I don't discuss this with him. He also runs a company, But one of the things that he has done is the special projects coordinator for the village, which ended up being something that was quite beneficial to the community, was he researched every single property in the village, who owned it, and then that allowed us to look into the tax issue. There are a lot of rental properties, there are a lot of commercial properties, there are a lot of people running companies out of their homes, and he was able to research and get that entire list of information to the village, and it's been quite beneficial.
Thank you. Next question is for Shane. In the recent past, police were called to your home for a domestic disturbance. How can you assure our village residents that you can take care of village business with a cool head while maintaining your professionalism?
That's pretty simple. For those of you who don't know, my niece lived with us because there was trouble at her house, and my brother came to my house and he threatened to put a bullet in my wife's head. So I pushed him and I told him to get in his car and get out of here, and he didn't listen, and he threatened to kill my wife in front of my children again. So we got into a little scuffle, and that's what happened. I mean, I didn't think anybody in my situation would react the same exact way if somebody says that to their wife, and that has nothing to do with me being on council.
Thank you. That actually concludes all of the questions for council. The rest are going to be for the mayoral candidates. Dawn Durbin. To candidate Dawn Durbin, why do you keep mentioning that you have a nursing degree and that you're not hesitant to show it? What does that have anything to do with running for the mayoral position?
Where did I say that at?
I have no idea, I'm sorry. It's a
Okay.
These are
question in
just
the box.
questions in the box.
Okay, so publicly I never said that. In an email of public records requests, which I had to do 3 of them and still have gotten evaded answers of what I've asked for. I had asked for the clerk treasurer's qualifications, his resume, his degree, and it took 3 requests until I finally got it. And I had mentioned in that email that if you ask me for my license or any qualifications or my my degree, that I would not hesitate to pull it up. And that makes me question what you're hiding, which he has a degree, and I said you should be proud of it. End of story.
Okay, the next question is going to be, it's posed to all 3, but in the statement it says, Mayor Mike, I know your qualifications. Tom and Dawn, please specify what business that you have run that gives you qualifications to run our village.
The majority of my career has been as a financial advisor, as a Series 7 stockbroker for Merrill Lynch, and for selling pension plans. And that allowed me to work directly with business owners and sell to them, which is a big part of economic development. And over the last 3 years of working in management to manage all the officers out at Hopkins Airport on a day-to-day basis. So I think those are good stepping stones.
What was the exact question? To ask what the
Please specify what business that you have run that gives you the qualifications to run our village.
I don't think you need to run a business to run a village. I think that somebody that wants the best for our village should, would be somebody, like I said, I've looked over all the council meetings. I can tell you this, decisions that are currently here with, I want to, like, the special projects coordinator. Again, it's no personal, but that position is $17,000 a year. And specifically, the example that she gave with the RETA taxes, I would imagine that the clerk treasurer would do something like that, or a secretary, or I had read in another one that he matched business owners with businesses. That would be something I would think our building department could do. That's $17,000. We have an EVT mechanic. He's the last 4 years, timesheets show him he's making over $67,000 a year, and he's functioning as a firefighter, as an EVT mechanic pay. I mean, common sense can run this village. We have changed our assistant fire chief from hourly to salary. So he was filling fire shifts at, well, it would be recently at $32.23 an hour. That would cost the village $37,000. We're paying $26,000, almost $27,000. So his position now costs the village almost $64,000. I mentioned community service. We have 2 secretaries one hasn't come to work since 2020, while other secretaries are in the office. And the mayor mentioned that work is being done. Well, I still saw the NIDEC buildings for sale. The land is still for sale online. I'm still listed as a fireman, and I left 5 years ago. So
15 seconds. We'll start with Mayor Mike.
Am I supposed to address that question or not?
No, that one, you said, I know your qualifications, so there was no question posed to you. All mayoral candidates, what is the status and what have you personally done for the Kurtz landfill? Enough is enough, deny the permit. Yeah, you can start down there.
So what's the question again? What have you personally done?
What is the status and what have you personally done for Kurt's landfill Enough is Enough deny the permit?
So, personally, at the time that this was all going on, I was grieving the death of my father and fighting cancer. I started here. I was having, radioactive iodine treatment, off of thyroid medicine. If anybody has thyroid issues and you're off of your medicine for almost a month, it is awful. So that's what I was doing. I wasn't the mayor. I do expect the mayor to look after our health, and if he sees a permit come through to protect us, that's his job. So I'm not the mayor currently, but as a mayor, I would do the same.
The current status is that the Board of Health has voted to intend to deny the permit, and now the Kurtz brothers have a certain amount of time to either accept it or appeal it, and then depending on what their action will be next. This is something, council's legislation passes ordinances, they spend money, that's an administrative, that's the mayor's position, but we did go and support it there. At the meetings, did sign petitions with it and help with that.
We worked together to do everything. You folks out there are the ones that helped me. Dawn was ill, couldn't attend the meeting, okay? I mailed out, the first thing I did was mail out notifications to you folks, and 100 of you showed up on Zoom, and some of you spoke. That meant the world. That was starting the ball rolling. The next thing I mailed out to you was the opportunity to sign a petition. I got one from Councilman Lahiff with his 4 family members' signatures on it on my desk, and I included that in the hundreds that I got from everyone else. I had council people helping me by going around with petitions. Jen Preset did that. Joe Blados did that. Matt Walsh put it in his newsletters. These folks grabbed an oar and helped row the boat. Another cliche. I worked with all of my contacts. I've been on NOACA for 12 years. I've been on the County Planning Commission for 17 or 18 years now. I serve on Clean Land Ohio, the NRAC committee. These people know more about business than I do. So one of them gave me the idea to do a bat study. Let's get an ecological study. The county planning commission wrote letters in protest to the Board of Health about the tree canopy and the ecosystem. And then I used West Creek, because when West Creek goes for grant funding, they do a marvelous job showing the panel by using a drone. So I contracted with a drone operator, jumped in a police car twice, took our lives in our hands and drove the police car on top of the landfills so that he could understand exactly what it was what I wanted on that video, so that I could bring the message firsthand to not only the 5 board members, but to everybody else assembled. That video, of course, is still on our website. So, in short, sure, John, I did my job, but I did it way above and beyond the call. There has never been a permit denied, not in Ohio, period. We are in uncharted waters, and even the Board of Health and their attorney don't know exactly what to do. I'll help you, Tom. Kurtz brothers have until October 8th to exercise their right for a hearing. We still have a 4-0 majority, unanimous decision by the board, and they're telling them if they do go to a hearing, the board is unanimously against putting another darn landfill in a 1.7 square mile village. So I'm confident, we're prepared. Our attorneys that we have are as good or better than Kurtz brothers, but again, this fight is not with the Kurtz brothers or the Kurtz brothers family or their business. It is a fight to deny a permit. They just happen to be the applicant. So all of you that have helped me, thank you.
Okay, the next question is for Dawn. Much of your campaign material is focused on the upper park. Are you aware that there is a complete upper park renovation already in process for a couple of years now? And all of that will be gone and completely renovated.
So, make portions of our park residents only, including the pavilions. Plan to restore, beautify, and maintain all areas of our village parks, which we have 3 levels down off of Tuxedo. We have Dorset Park. My main concern as a taxpayer, as a resident for all these years, is that in 2016, our village was given a $5,000 grant from University Hospital. This is reported in a meeting. It was to purchase 60 feet of fence, 2 gates, so that the top basketball court can be residents only. It's now 5 years later. We're waiting on a grant, they said. And then a resident had emailed me in 2018 pictures of the park, and that she had mentioned her concerns. And we're working on grants was the answer in 2018. So now here we are again. And I do see that we have plans, June of 2022, which is, it's excellent. This is with the most gracious, forefronted money from the Saunders family, $75,000. There was another meeting that had mentioned it took $52,000 from, I think that was the sewer company, 50 from the county, and then 25 from our village. That wasn't even counting the $75,000. So it's confusing. I just hope it happens.
Next question is for Tom. While campaigning since September 3rd, you have told people there would be a video available September 29th after Meet the Candidates essentially, and not giving anyone an opportunity to respond to your true campaign platform or view it. You haven't publicized it yet, but it is out there. That doesn't seem very transparent. Why do you continue to hide behind videos with false information to try to create a divide when things are going positive here?
Every bit of literature I have says it is going on September 30th, which is tomorrow. There's nearly 500 that are going out. It goes over my entire detailed plan. Every bit of it is fact. And I will challenge anybody to email me with anything, actually even 4 years ago. Everything that I put out there was fact, and it turned out to be true. And I just need to correct error on the one part that he said before about the tax increase. Because he said it's a one-time thing, but it's a 1.1 million. Actually, Tim Clymer said it was 1.2 million a year. And it didn't go away after a year. If we didn't increase it from 2 to 2.5, we'd have 4 million less than we would have now. Because yes, it goes up by $1 million, but the next year it's still at 2.5%. So it's still increasing that base by $1 million. So there is $4 million more that should be in there than if we didn't have the tax increase.
Thank you. Next question is again for Dawn. Ms. Durbin, please answer this honestly. While capturing photos and videos of your campaign material, were you doing that with the aid of a village employee on village time or taxpayer dollars?
100% no, because my mother was with me. Thank you.
Next question is for Tom.
Right here. She's right here. And it was August 12th is when I went to pictures.
Tom, you have stated that you have an issue with leasing versus buying village vehicles. However, as a voting member of council, you have voted for approval each time. Is that correct? You also have begun to make false promises to seniors about removing fees eventually for grass cutting and snow removal. However, again, as a voting member of council, that is not the case. If you have issues with leasing versus buying, why are you voting for it? Why are you making promises that you already are not able to keep to seniors?
Up until a couple of years ago, we never leased. If Jim Gabbard was here, he would tell you that. I brought it up 15 years ago that we should lease because of it was an advantage at that time. Because we always had the money. Now we're leasing police cars, now we're leasing vehicle, trucks for the service department, we're leasing ambulance, and all this is debt. And the reason we have to do it now is because we don't have the funds to pay for it. We can't afford it. That's why we're pushing it out. The interest rates are lower right now, but it's all based on time. Yes, I was against leasing when we have the money to pay for it. You shouldn't pay interest if you have the cash. The second part was about
The second part was making promises to remove the fees associated with removing.
if we can put the economic development plan that I have, want to put it in place, and we can get back to the day that we have positive cash flow, and we have more money coming in that's going out, then we can build up the fund, and we can go back to them. But we can't do it now, because we're not in that position. That's why we had to charge fees. But for years, seniors didn't pay for grass cutting, snow plowing, families didn't pay for summer pool passes. So we love to get back to those days.
Thank you. Next question is for Dawn. Dawn, you have a quote regarding transparency that you've been using in your campaign. When you pulled your petition for mayor, you did so anonymously, so that it would not show that you pulled a petition seeking office until you filed with the Board of Elections, a day before the deadline. That doesn't seem very transparent from the start. Why were you intentionally hiding that you were going to run for mayor until the absolute last minute at the deadline?
So that's not true. The day I did pull the petition, was it the day before or 2 days before? I think it's I thought it was 2 days before. And at that point, you couldn't even run anonymously. So that information is incorrect. Somebody needs to call the county tax. That's incorrect. So at that point, there was no option to even run anonymously.
Okay, next question is for you as well. Ms. Urban, 7 members of your family have been employed by the Village of Brooklyn Heights. 4 of the 7, including yourself, had lengthy careers here or currently still do. Your vision states fair hiring practices. Were fair hiring practices in place for the 7 members of your family, including those who still work here, or does that not apply here?
I don't know what 7. I don't have 7.
That just goes on the card.
So my dad was a police officer for 27 years. I was a teenager when he started. I entered Brooklyn Heights Fire Department in 2001. I actually applied, I don't remember how many years prior to that, and they said no, or I didn't even get an interview. So I tried again, and this time I had more qualifications as a paramedic and firefighter than the previous person that they hired, who was amazing, Chris Holdsworth. He's not here no longer, but he's a basic, and I was a paramedic, and they hired him over me 2 years prior. So I was actually more qualified than him. My father, who else was employed? Yeah, the baby. I don't know when he started here. Over 25 years. So that was by a different mayor, right? I was hired by Mayor Mike. My dad was hired by the previous mayor. So I don't know any other though. So are they counting my mom's what did you work for? She was on a committee. So that was, it was a committee, so that was that. And I think they asked her. I don't know 7, 1, 2.
Dusty, Jeff.
Oh, my brother, my goodness. What was he, 16? I mean, it's hard not to have certain, I mean, at that time, I don't know what mayor that was, is that the same? Yeah, so, at that time, they hired 30 children, teenagers in the park. So,
No? Good? It's okay. The next question is for all mayoral candidates. What is your economic development plan? Tom and Dawn, you've both stated having an economic development plan in your vision and campaign. And Mayor Mike, what have you done related to economic development? What is your plan moving forward?
so can I start since I just said Mike?
Yeah.
All right. I just want to bring 4 years ago, and Mayor Mike had mentioned that he marketed Metro, and I just have to bring this up because I worked for HealthSpan. It was Kaiser that later turned into HealthSpan. I was laid off. I worked until March 31st of 2016, but that was a package deal. HealthSpan sold to Metro, so unfortunately, he did not market any part of Metro. It was negotiated, already negotiating. So January 28th, 2016, we are in negotiations to sell our facilities to our network partners. We expect the buildings in Brooklyn Heights to be sold to a network partner and remain occupied after March 31st. That was by Merle Gordon of HealthSpan. My economic plan would be, with Metro, for instance, they had, in December 19, 2017, they told the village that they had over 300 employees coming, and they feared that they were not going to have enough space for parking. Only 390 of space. So did we look into anything else to help make sure that they had enough spaces? In February 2018, they mentioned that they were, in February of 2018, they said they were looking for expansion. They were interested in activities in our community, suggested giving our quote of our health care to our employees. None of that ever happened. Why did we miss these opportunities? The building department has an obvious failure on maintaining inspections over there. Later on, I'm going to ask everybody to please just take a minute. It's 1.8 miles our village. Drive through those industrial parkways. It's sad. It's embarrassing. I would extend invites to these businesses to our fundraisers and events. Treat them like our residents. We need to build relationships with them and keep the relationships. They're important for our finance to keep the city running.
15 seconds.
If you look at our village website under available commercial properties, it shows 32 properties with available space. And if you add up the square foot, that's 646,000 square feet available in Brooklyn Heights. The old Smith and Gadeni building, that's 27 of those. The community center, it's over 270 of those that's available space according to our website. We need to have an economic development plan. And the first priority is we need to keep the existing businesses here. So we need to meet with each individual business owner. We need to develop a relationship with them. When I brought this up 8 years ago that we needed to do this, the mayor said that business owners don't want to be contacted. As a financial advisor, the number one reason people change financial advisors has nothing to do with investments going up and down, it's because nobody's called them to you. We need to have a relationship with them, so if they have an issue, we have to be able to get the opportunity to solve it before they leave. We also need their help in referring us to other business owners. The second thing is we need to do is we need to brand and promote and market Brooklyn Heights. When you tell people you live in Brooklyn Heights, the first thing they say is, oh, over by Mendo's. Or over by the zoo. People don't even know where Brooklyn Heights is. And we have a great location because we need to educate commercial realtors who are centers of influence that can bring businesses here. And banking center people because we have a great location for businesses. We're right in the middle of Cuyahoga County. We have every highway within 5 minutes. Employers can put their business here and they draw employees from anywhere. We have one of the lowest tax rates in the county, And we have a 3-minute emergency response time, which saves them money and saves lives. But we have to be proactive. My plan is, I have a lot of ideas, but it's not just me. I want to put together an economic development committee that's based on working with, have people from commercial realtors, banking people, business owners, marketing people, successful salespeople. It's not a paid position. But we bring them together and develop a business plan so we can follow up that.
Thank you.
I have 3 vacancies, folks. 3 large vacancies. We're full. I said that earlier. In the past 2 years alone, $30 million has changed hands in either new construction or new owners of buildings. A great relationship with all our brokers and our owners and our businesses. And what he keeps referring to is when he wanted to become the economic development director, and I was worried because the previous one also had another job. You can't call on our businesses as a village official and try and promote your own personal agenda and business. That's what I meant when that comment was made. Businesses don't like to see the fire inspector come, but they do. They don't like to see the building inspector come to make sure that everything is operable, but they do. And they certainly don't like a tax collector to come, but they love being here. We're full. We haven't even tapped the surface of some of these new businesses that have just relocated in here in the last 8 months. The Safeguard building alone, AmeriGas, 3 collaborations, 450 employees, a 20-year deal, a 10-year deal as far as everything I've done the past couple of years. I'm lucky. I'm not good. I'm not great. I'm not the one beating down the door to go tell somebody about Brooklyn Heights. I have people that do that, brokers, the people that are interested in making a commission, and then they bring me in. Our village is the absolute best location. We don't have restaurants, but my goodness, we're full. Our revenue stream is headed like this. I don't know what else to tell you except if you have someone who wants about 20,000 square feet of office, I got a HIDA building. I got a very, needs a lot of work, a warehouse on Valley Belt, and I have the FedEx building that was built to FedEx standards. That's it, folks. Economic development plan? How about economic development success? And all of these deals are long-term deals. If you want, why don't we try to annex some of Independence's property so I can build some more buildings? Thank you.
Next question is for Tom. Mr. Lady, 4 years ago, you gave up your council seat per the charter to pursue running for mayor. That seat was then left up to council to fill the vacancy. Again, you are running for mayor 4 short years later. And again, giving up a council seat, taking away voter integrity and tapping council with filling the seat. Why do you continue to give up elected seats when things are seemingly going so well?
Keyword there is seemingly going so well. Look at the website. Look at, as Dawn mentioned, drive around the village. Look at the vacancy signs. There's a lot of vacancies in this village. 646,000 according to our website, 646,000 square feet. Is that? I gave up my council seat because I want to make a difference as mayor. I have the opportunity to change the direction that we're going. I have an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of the residents here in Brooklyn Heights. And together we can do that. But the priority at the time was I was focusing on 2 years ago on being on council. The council can decide, but they can also, anybody can come up with a petition to be on it. So it just right now, things change, and the priority right now is to focus on, I'm giving up 2 years of income that I had earned in order to run for mayor.
Next question is for Dawn. you have posted some provocative pictures on social media. How do you expect residents and employees to treat you professionally and respectfully? There's filters on your pictures. How transparent will you be as mayor?
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I don't even know how to answer that. I wish they would show me what pictures they're talking about that's provocative. I had worked here for 15 years. I mean, if there was something on there that would have been, that would have been messing with my employment here, would be messing with my employment as a nurse. So provocative, I beg to differ. I wish that you can show me the pictures that they're talking about. I mean, I have features on me that other people don't. I mean, I don't know if that's what they're talking about, but here I am. This is no filter. I don't know how to answer that.
Next one's for you as well. In your campaign material, you show specific roads, parking lots, work being done by the utilities companies unrelated to the village. If you drive down the street in Independence on Route 21 or any other neighboring community, you will find the same. Are you aware that there is a capital investment repair project planned for 2021 as well as 2022? That is already in discussion provided by the Engineer and Streets Committee.
There's many things in discussions for many years. If you go up Lancaster, I don't even know what that big barrel thing is. It has been there for years. I live there, we live there. Cones, places, yes, I'm aware that come from the capital funds. I'm aware, but we're ignoring them and they're getting worse. So I can tell you now, I'm asking the village to take a drive. It's 1.8 miles. Go down every industrial park. There should not be holes down at the bottom over there at Van Epps. Garbage. There's some type of, it looks like dog cages. It's unacceptable. It's embarrassing. This is not the Brooklyn Heights I grew up in. This is not my hometown. And I do have a link to, if anybody wants to see the video, there's a link, you can watch it. Like I said, all the pictures were taken August 12th, maybe a day later. You can actually see my mom's car in one of the reflections to show that it was my mom and me together. And it was shocking. 5th Street, they used chip seal. If a child is on a bike going to the park, that's like a human cheese grater. I mean, I just don't understand the thinking of some jobs that this is not. I mean, look at old social media posts of parades, and you can look at the beautiful streets that we had in just in a matter of 15, 20 years, just how bad it got. It's sad.
Home stretch, folks. We got 3 more questions to go. Another one for you. Ms. Durbin, have you ever been a member of Brooklyn Heights Women's Service Club, attended a park board meeting, or an ad hoc recreation committee meeting? Your campaign mentions bringing back home days, summer concerts, and other community events, all of which have already been done here or have been explored in depth in various meetings of these groups of dedicated volunteers. How will all of these events, as well as the village field house you have stated in your vision, be funded?
Well, to start, like I said, when we hear of all these grants that were coming in, 2016 we're gonna fix the park, and 2018 we're waiting on a grant, and now I'm hearing again, well, there's no ground broken yet because we're waiting on a grant. It's many broken promises. I forgot what else you had asked.
Where the funds would come for the field house?
Well, that's why I said to revisit the idea. There's so much misuse of money now, just in jobs that have been added. Our community is not growing, it's actually slightly declining. when 2018 census had said a little over 1,500 people now. Our community service used to have, I want to say 140 grass cutting, and now we're at about 60. Yeah, now we're at about 60. So we're still funding departments and adding on secretaries that aren't even coming to work. If you add up some amounts that are pretty significant, there's money that we can make to work.
Okay, next question is for Tom. Tom, while you ended up supporting the police after your 4 other fellow council members voted for it, why were you against it? When it came to hiring police officers, you said you were not in favor of hiring anybody. Why? Was it your intent to try to use your current job within a security business to somehow fill the bigger need for safety in our village?
My current job has nothing to do with that. Anytime when you're in your committees, when you're looking at decisions, you have to try and balance what is best for the community, what's best for the employees, what's best for the businesses, and what's best for the budget. It's irresponsible to not take consideration. I expressed concerns about the money that was hiring. But the bottom line is that every police hire that we have, I have approved. I have voted yes. But you have to take that in consideration when you are evaluating. So it's a primary concern.
Thank you. And the final question is for Dawn. In your vision, you stated you will make portions of our park for residents only, including pavilions. How will you achieve that?
Make portions of our park for residents only, including pavilions. It was my idea to, if we have the Dorset Park area to still work with, and I think Valley View has an amazing pavilion that, and obviously we know they're all resident only, and why can't we have something like that? Right now, the pavilions are not in any condition. Again, take a small drive and look, they're awful. But, so I know that with the West Creek, we can't make certain areas of our park resident only, but there is some options in there for us to look at. I know they already had the plans out for this top diamond area of the park, basketball hoops, but we still have Dorset Park area to work with, and I hope that we can get something resident only. People fight over that one in Valley View. They have to do a lottery, you know, it's beautiful, and I really hope that we can get something like that.
Okay, closing remarks. We're going to start with council first, unseated, and then followed by the seated. Okay, go ahead and stand up, identify yourself, and
corruption, the definition of corruption is a form of well, Google. Corruption. You use Urban Dictionary. No, not for corruption, no. For good old boys. Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, corruption is a form of dishonesty or criminal offense which is undertaken by a person or an organization who or which is entrusted with a position of authority in order to acquire illicit benefits or abuse power for private gain. You use that word.
I sure
I
did.
want you to give me 2 examples. We've got 5 members of the administration sitting on the dais with you tonight. I just want you to give me 2 examples of corruption in Brooklyn Heights. Proof
So,
of corruption. Thank you.
so personal gain of the mayor's car when he purchased it, asking for $900 over budget. Why? That's personal gain. I didn't say that's not stealing. Corruption.
okay. Okay, sir, let her answer the question. Go ahead, Don.
So in 20, the vehicle from the mayor was purchased in, where is it? You said you wanted proof, so I'm just looking for it, I apologize.
That's all right. If you don't have it, it's obvious you don't know, so let's.
I have it in here, I stated it earlier. I mean. In 2015, purchasing a car that's $900 over a budgeted amount, that's personal gain. Abusing the personal vehicle or the take-home vehicles, we are at building car over 20,000 miles in 2 years. We have the fire chief's car seen in Marblehead while the chief was out of town. The mayor's car started off with 203 miles. He's down in Doylestown in Elyria at soccer games. But then when I did the public records request, he's now at a Parma Heights one in his own vehicle and campaigning in his personal vehicle now. Where there's people on the employees selling old vehicles where the service department, for instance, one of them was last year, the service department didn't even request the vehicle. This was purchased and sold to our city, but again, the service department never even requested this vehicle.
15 seconds.
And this is a councilman tie to the family. That's corruption, that's dishonesty.
Any more questions from the,
So I have two, one for Mr. Urban and then one for everyone. The first one is, as a professional, when I was hired 5 years ago, my boss basically told me, we treat everyone here as an adult until they give us reason not to. So we don't check what time you come in, we don't check what time you leave, we just want to make sure that you're doing your job. So as someone who doesn't have management experience, how would you implement putting in time clocks now for people who have not had them before? That's my first question. The second question for all of you is, in this time of COVID now, again, for a company that works and is now, have been paying, people have paid in their health insurance, in my company, $15 a paycheck, extra in a paycheck for, if you're a smoker. And now they've instituted in January, starting if you have not gotten a COVID vaccine, because it's costing the company money for people who are ill because of COVID. They're increasing anyone who does not get the COVID vaccine to pay extra, like in their paycheck, I think it's $35 a paycheck now. Would anyone in our current government here in Brooklyn Heights raise the cost of the insurance for those people that refuse to get vaccinated?
Do I answer both of those or just the one you want?
Well, go ahead to both, but
So-
everybody wants to.
Okay, so I work in the health field, so I don't think that it's actually their decision, it's the actual insurance that you purchase. So if it's part of, like, say, I work for UH, so, I don't smoke, we can't smoke, we're not allowed to smoke, so I can't even go on that, but I do know at Cleveland Clinic, they do charge more for, smokers or for, if you don't meet a, physical, yeah, like Please remind me about management. So I worked in salary positions. I wasn't only a nurse. I worked for Estee Lauder for quite a few years in sales. I met my productivity. I did the schedule for them. I actually have implemented many different protocols for where I work now. It was so confusing, like the schedule, for instance. I implemented a different way for us to do that. As a salary employee, I clocked in and out. It was so, it didn't matter though. I only got paid, I was actually, at the time I was 20 hours. I clocked in and out. I worked 30 hours some week. Other weeks I might have worked 19 and a half or 20 or more. Usually 20 or more actually I never worked under. So I think that time clocks are essential. It's 2021. Like, who writes in their time anymore? As an employee, I wrote my time in. The fire department were immaculate with keeping our times. You know, the fire department, we had to put them in the book, but we also had to put them in the computer. The police department here, they the same thing. They're, you know, you obviously can't, you're on for 8 hours. I believe they're on 8-hour shifts still. So somebody has to work and fill that last shift.
15 seconds.
I worked for Kaiser here in the call center where it was logged in, and when you were logged into your computer is when your time started. I think that there needs to be employee accountability. Like I said, the website is not up to date, so and it's not COVID. This happened before COVID. This has been going on for a while. I've worked here, I've seen it.
I feel healthcare should be just a standard rate for everybody. Your personal choice shouldn't affect what you have to pay for health insurance. I know for my job with the Indians and the Cavs, I mean, just to get in Rocky Mortgage Fieldhouse for us, we have to be vaccinated. That's not why I did it, but I mean, it helps that I am vaccinated. But if somebody's personal choice, they shouldn't be penalized for their own personal choice.
The majority of our employees under the health plan are in the police department, which have a collective bargaining agreement that's negotiated every 3 years. That comes up a year from now, and that can be something brought up. We would get some input from our health insurance broker as to what those actually cost, and the studies that they could do to show the benefits of doing that, so that can be negotiated at that time. But generally what we do is we work with that collective bargaining agreement, and then we pass that on to the rest of the employees.
I was going to say basically part of what both of these gentlemen just said. The personal preference of the person, I think, should take first and foremost at the head of the decision. But as well, like Tom was saying, we work with the bargaining unit, and as well then we would be working with the broker. But I don't think that at this time it's something that we would be looking at or considering.
Could you repeat the question, because I'm confused?
So the company I work for is, because it's costing the company more money in healthcare because COVID cases cost so much. Those people that are not vaccinated and live in a hospital and end up with intensive care units. It's costing more money all the way down the line. So the same thing as people who are smokers cost the company more money. So in an effort to mitigate that, they are saying, with the health insurance, if you insist on not being vaccinated, eventually down the line, you're going to cost us more money, so you pay more each of your paycheck for your health care. The health care for those people goes up around $25, $35.
Okay. Again, what was said earlier, we do have a police union, and there is language in that about providing a similar plan. Our group is very small, folks. We're a village. We have 28 people, I believe, 28 families on the health insurance. So the flexibility that we have as far as with the outside world and again making charges, our employees pay 13% toward the premium. So if you're a big family plan, you might be paying hundreds of dollars more than somebody that's single with no dependents. But all employees that are eligible for health care pay 13% toward it. I don't really see any way that we could get implemented. We've provided wellness programs and other things to help reduce our premiums and stuff, but we're a very small group, so it's hard to move the needle.
Okay,
Yeah, I echo all of that. I would say everything with COVID, we roll with the punches and cross that bridge. If it came onto our desk or something. Okay, so hopefully it's all over soon.
I'm just going to reiterate pretty much what they said. In my current job, I work under a CBA, so typically what happens is whatever the union has contractually agreed to is what you have for the set terms, and most of the time the non-union personnel are attributed the same luxuries or the same agreements.
You know, obviously, if they're raising your rates, they're trying to create some sort of incentive for people to get vaccinated. And that's happening throughout this country. Let me say one thing. I do not vote for votes. Let me repeat. I do not vote for votes. So I'm going to lose some votes, folks. But I'm married to a nurse and I have a son who's a doctor. And they told me everybody should be vaccinated. It's a 100-year pandemic, and you should get vaccinated. It's turned so political and so negative, but I'm going to tell you, I do not vote for votes, and if I could, I'd have everybody vaccinated. And that's my opinion.
Please come over here so they can hear you. You can use my mic. I apologize, it's wired. So.
Thank you. Earlier there was a question, council, they wanted to know how many meetings you have been to in the last 6 months. Dawn, this one's for you, running for this village's top spot. It's only fair to know how many you have been to too. Can we put some up then?
So when I was on the village, I did attend multiple meetings. With my father being employed for 27 years, like I said, that was in my teens up until 6 months before he passed away this past December. So it's a trickier one when you have two people employed by the city. It's like a double-edged sword. There's times where I spoke up in the past and you feel like you're retaliated on, your opinion doesn't matter, and that needs to stop. It needs to stop. Oh, I don't remember. While I worked here, many. Oh, in the past 6, I'm sorry. I attended one meeting. In the past 6 months, I had health issues. I fought cancer. I had my thyroid removed in February. My dad tragically passed away in December. So I did radioactive treatment. My son was in Kuwait, coming home, and when he came home in the end of May, June is when we planned my dad's burial and memorial, and that was really, it was like reliving everything all over again. So unfortunately, I did one virtually, but with what happened in my family and like I said, the health issues that I have, and I'm cancer-free.
Anybody else?
My name is Chad Halliburton. First, I want to thank all of our present officials who have seen fit to hire us more police officers. However, shaft roads and drag strip, tuxedo and stop signs are ignored consistently. I hear that we're writing an increased amount of tickets, which is good. Does anybody have anything else, any plan of what we can do to further reduce these problems?
I can start with my father being a police officer. I know he was called many times. Our police department are amazing. All you have to do is suggest or let them know certain times that it's happening. I've lived on 8th Street, 7th Street, 5th Street, and Belmont, where I'm at now. I have Ring. I can tell you these guys are there. I often look in the middle of the night to see if they have any animals or raccoons or the deer eating, but they are on it. They are, the only time my ring comes on is them driving by and protecting us. But I know from my father, when he was on, would be just give them a call, they're open. They you know, they're patrolling the streets, but if there's a specific area, let them know the times and the speed signs. I know I had read there was some discussion and some resistance on putting a speed sign, but you know, those are out there to be used as well. The permanent one was capiche. It wasn't a go. That's something I would think is to look at if the village residents are seeing it.
I'll just say it's great that we're ticketing more people now. I feel like they should treat all residents the same. I know this is nothing against the older members of the police force, but you have to be strict. You can't give your friends leeway. If somebody's speeding, give them a ticket, whether it doesn't matter who it is, and I think the new cops are doing a great job of starting to do that.
There has been an increased patrol and also tickets during the Labor Day weekend. There was 40 tickets given out that weekend on Chaff and Tuxedo. There's a reason there's speed limits. It's a safety issue. If somebody's driving 20 miles an hour and hits a pedestrian, they have a 80% chance of surviving. 30 miles an hour, 50% chance. 40 miles an hour, they have a 20% chance of surviving. If somebody's doing 40 miles an hour in a 25 zone, they should get a ticket. They will get a ticket, whether it's a resident or not, and they.
As it's been discussed this evening, yes, we have increased the amount of police officers on our department, and I welcome them all to the family. They're doing a great job. I will even say before the mic gets all the way down to Councilman Walsh, I am a fan of purchasing a couple more speed cameras. For those of you who have been here long enough, we had the large unit that they would pull behind the cars and park on the road, and it would tell you how fast you're going. It got used on Shaft Road a lot. I live in the Shaft Road area. I saw it work and slow people down. That one, unfortunately, is no longer working, and no longer, I don't even think we have it anymore. So I am in favor of bringing some of those into the community so we can get people to slow down.
Low taxes, superior schools, and excellent services. When I got sworn in January 1st, 2001, safety has always been my top priority. April 17th of 2001, 4.5 months into my term, we were already at ordinance number 56. We're now in the 70s and we're through September. That ordinance was to increase our police department. I thought that we needed more police officers, and so did the chief, and so did the officers, especially in the afternoon when our population swells with business residents. I've been working for several years trying to get this council to continue to look at the budget so that I can get back to 17 police officers. Budgetary-wise, the chief and I worked very hard, and all we asked for was an extra $107,000, and that was controversial because the mayor doesn't get to vote. No kidding, the mayor doesn't get to vote. My job is to appoint. I have hired 10 new police officers in the last 10 months. Sure, council votes on those appointments, but you have no idea how thorough we are. Lie detector tests, psychological exams, everything. We have the cream of the crop that we have hired here, and we're lucky enough to be getting the lateral transfers that you see on TV, where I have police officers that have 7 years experience in a bad district in Cleveland. I have hired a couple of residents. I just changed the classification of one that worked for us part-time. There is nothing more important than safety. So, we're back up to full strength. We're writing more tickets. We have more people on patrol. And by the way, another thing that I did years ago when I swore in Don Durbin was I changed how fire department employees are hired in Brooklyn Heights. I pledged to this community that I would only hire paramedics, and that's what we've done. I inherited an 8-hour fire department. It's 24/7. There is no discussion, no compromise, no worries about how you fund safety as our #1 thing. And I do want to make one correction. To this point, through the end of August, when it's thrown out here that we're spending more money than coming in and all that, what we've brought in over what we've spent through the end of August is $1,189,074. We're not going this way, folks. We're going this way.
It was just a couple of meetings ago where I told Chief Meade that I wanted to be a cop. He's got me so jacked up about our police department. That man is doing a fantastic job. And if you see him, in the salute, his crew's amazing. All these new police officers that are rolling around the village, they're awesome. We're in really good hands. And I want to be here for a long time. I want my kids to continue to grow up and be safe, even though days are numbered here. My youngest is 14. So grandbabies will be rolling in at some point. And not too far down the road, of course, and I'm assuming that Chief Meade will still have that department rolling full steam ahead. Thank you.
If I'm recalling correctly from the council meetings that I've been at, Chief Meade's done a phenomenal job with the council's assistance as well as the mayor of getting everything staffed back up. I also seem to recall that there was a catch-up period of training that had to be done, whether it be due to COVID or whatever else. But I believe we're now up to 4-man shifts, and that I believe will provide plenty of coverage now as guys are done with their vacations, done with training, to start focusing on areas where, you know, there's more problems. I know my house for one, which is right by the chief's house, nobody stops at the stop sign. They roll through it. Most of the time they think that people are gonna just turn right, head up Mural, and the people who do continue down Dorset have to hammer on the brakes to avoid the people pulling out in front of them. But I can say, since the new officers have been on, I've seen an increase in how many people are pulled over. I've seen an increased presence at all the stop signs. So personally, I think they're doing a phenomenal job.
Many years ago, my late father-in-law lived in Seven Hills. And he would tell me, Matt, when I retire, the hell with Hilton Head, I'm gonna move to Brooklyn Heights. For a lot of my time working, I drive. And I will be the first one to tell you, yes, I do speed. Not all the time. But when I see a sign or a blink that tells you how fast you're going, it slows me down. It just does. And the members of council have known that I really want to get a couple of speed signs on Shaft and maybe on Lancaster. And hopefully we can do that after this election. But the bottom line is we have a police force and a police chief that believes more and more in community policing. I have seen policemen stop, get out of their cars, and talk to children. I've seen a policeman stop, get out of his car, and play basketball. I'm hoping, and I think Chief Meade has told me it may not happen this year, we're going to see policemen on bicycles again. Tell me if that isn't a good thing. Years ago, I would cut my grass, and I'd see my neighbor Paul Zarowski, he's on a bike, waving, talking to people and stuff like that. That is what this community is all about. That is what this community is all about. And our service department doesn't get enough credit for making this place look great. Is it perfect? No. Are our police perfect? No. Our fire department? No. But let me tell you, you cannot live in a safer place than Brooklyn Heights. All our firemen work at other fire departments. They are fully trained. You call, they're at your house probably within 2 or 3 minutes, even less. But the bottom line is, I'm a little gung-ho, and I've kind of kept my mouth shut, but this is the best location in the nation. And I grew up in Chicago. I've lived in the Cleveland area for over 40 years. Brooklyn Heights is a terrific place to live.
Anybody else? Okay, now closing remarks. We're gonna start with village council, unseated, then seated, and then we'll move on to the mayoral candidates.
Well, I guess I'll start. Well, thanks again for everybody coming here. I just want to finish off by saying a lot of things, despite a lot of doom and gloom that's being pointed out, a lot of things in the village have gone in a positive direction. We've got our new ambulance, which replaced what I would consider significantly old ambulance, very well equipped. I like seeing that. That means things are going halfway decent here. I like seeing the 5 new police cars once the rest of them are put on the road here and equipped. I like seeing as much kept in-house at the village as we can with our own employees. There's always room for improvement. I'm very happy in this village. I like my neighbors. We all come together when things are bad for one another. Despite whatever we might think about one another, when bad things happen, they get support. That's what we do here. That's what makes this village so special. And that's what I want to try to continue, should I get your vote and be elected. Thank you.
I plan on being here for a long time, and I would love to be voted to be on council while I live here. 2 years ago when I ran, I was very upset with how things ran and how things are running, and they're getting better, but they can always continue to improve. 2 years ago, I was upset with the grass cutting being outsourced, and it raised ideas, and I said our city can do it. And I'm not saying that I was the reason it happened, but it raised awareness of the situation. Now our city cuts the seniors' grasses. I was upset that Home Days was gone. I was told Home Days would never be back, and I want to bring it back. I don't want to be told that it can't be done. And October 9th, we're having a community day, and that's the first step to start getting things back to how they used to be. Everybody says the good old days of Brooklyn Heights. We can have them again. Not that things are bad now, but they can always be better. One last thing about the police thing. I know we have all seen the memes of Newburgh cops sitting on the bridge hiding a blah, blah, blah. I feel like they're getting a lot of revenue from that. I feel like we can hire an officer and sit on a bridge, and that's easy revenue to sit on a bridge with a camera and take pictures. It'll slow people down. If they go through there and they get a ticket, they're going to keep going through there flying. I know it's a highway, and a lot of us probably think, oh, that doesn't really concern me, but it does. It's our village that people are speaking to. I just want to close with thank you, Laurel and Jared, for putting this together. It's time out of your day too, just like ours. And thank you everybody for coming.
I'll go. First of all, thank you all of you for coming. Secondly, thank you Laurel and Jared. I'd also like to thank my Women's Club for sponsoring this event, the Service Department for all their work of getting this together. A little selfish here this evening. I am the parent of a special needs child who has, Dominic, been sitting for 2 hours and 15 minutes so patiently. You've been awesome. And I thank my husband. Public service is not easy. I give credit to anybody that's really sitting up here. It's a commitment. You've got to get a petition, you commit yourself to this, and if you win, it's a job. And I'm here for the people. I am proud to be one of only 5 women that has served this village in 118 years. I'm hardworking, thank you. I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated, and I hope to get back on to be your councilwoman.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all of you for coming morning, this evening, and spending the last almost 2.5 hours patiently listening to us, asking questions. I'd like to thank everybody who's running, making the effort, and definitely the graders. Thank you very much for running this show. All I can tell you, you'll still get flyers with my stupid face on it, and it'll be, how can I help you? And, 12 years ago, someone said to me, what the hell are you doing? You've got your email, your cell phone? What are you doing? I go, well, it's a job. I get paid. I want to help. That's the bottom line. And, some of you people out there tonight, not everybody's going to vote for Matt Walsh. I understand that. Maybe some have decided, I'm not voting for Walsh. Okay? And that's your prerogative. I do not vote for votes. I clearly try to figure out what's best for the village. And you have every opportunity to call me up and talk to me. I don't know what else I can do. You will see me campaigning. I'll be wearing my big white shirt that says Walsh for Council. I'll be a walking billboard. And if it's a sunny day, don't get too close. I'll probably blind you with my bald head. But I really want to tell you, I think this is a terrific place to live. It isn't perfect. It isn't perfect, but I think we've got a solid leadership team, and I would think with the mayor and Jennifer and myself coming back, we'll make it even stronger. Thank you very much.
Hey, Aaron, do you want to go first before the mayor?
Sure, thank you, Jared. All right, everybody, a little more business for you real quick. As I stated earlier, a few important aspects of my personal philosophy to be successful include building relationships, setting and achieving goals, and of course, teamwork. First, I'm a firm believer that building relationships is a cornerstone to establish a fluid working environment. Naturally, in the beginning, I had to build it internally with our mayor, department heads, employees, and legislators of the village. Outside of the walls, I quickly established ground with our state auditors, our friends at Cuyahoga County, of course our municipal team at RETA, our outstanding insurance carrier, my pals at the Ohio BMV and EPA, our banking associates, software people, and several other key frequent vendors. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention all the wonderful neighboring municipal officials I've had the pleasure to work with over the years. Next, some of the initial goals I set immediately were to create efficiencies in our finance department that would allow us to save time and money, which in turn gives us flexibility to handle other tasks as needed in a very expeditious manner. Essentially, to have that feeling of being ahead of the game, because you just don't know what the day's going to bring in our world. Phones ringing all day, off the hook, or maybe a pandemic. So a couple examples of that include, we signed department credit cards and created a policy to hold our card holders accountable, as opposed to one credit card for the whole village to share and have to sign out in my office. Yes, that is going on. Instituted our online banking policy. We pay over 60 fixed monthly bills online for free, which also saves internal processing time, checks, and postage. Streamlined the month-end process, which helps us close the month within days, allowing us to move ahead. Streamlined the budget process, making it easier for everyone involved to comprehend. No more months and months of grueling budget meetings. Created dozens of useful, easy-to-read reporting tools to monitor everything from something as simple as our utility bills to more complex things like our general fund expenditures and everything in between. Brought in the mayor's court credit card processing, which increases day of court payments, thus reducing warrants, which results in less paperwork and more time to catch the bad guys. And my final point of emphasis tonight is teamwork. It is because of the unified approach of our municipal family of employees that has allowed us to be successful. I have worked closely with the mayor and have collaborated with the department heads to achieve so many of our goals. Now let me be very clear. None of this could be done without the help and determination of my wonderful administrative assistants. They have bought into literally everything I have thrown their way. Here are just a couple examples of those impactful advancements. Creative financing to preserve cash flow, including the 5 new police department vehicles, service truck, and our brand new beautiful ambulance. Follow the mayor's longtime dream of establishing funds to earmark money, buckets we call them, one for our retirees and one for economic development incentives. Performed records retention back in 2019 for the first time in about 15 years, a gigantic team effort that included everybody in the village, which made our audit process so much more efficient. Speaking of audit, proud to say we passed our biennial audit with flying colors during the peak of the COVID crisis. And of course, the immense collaboration spearheaded by our mayor to bring us that big, beautiful, shiny new building at the corner of Tuxedo and Granger. I appreciate the mayor letting my position evolve so I can showcase some of my intangible strengths like ingenuity and collaboration. His advice and mentorship over the years has truly paid dividends and has helped me become the best version of myself. I appreciate all of you allowing me the time to provide some insight on all the amazing things happening in our village. I am so proud to be a part of this organization and even more proud to serve the people of Brooklyn Heights.
Okay, I'm not sure if that mic is dying, but if you're giving your speech, if you want to come over here and use the wired one, you're more than welcome to. It cut out on Aaron a few times, so.
You can,
Or just try?
you can try
All right,
if you want.
I'm just gonna say, I firsthand have seen the nepotism here that continued to snowball into a disgusting misuse of tax dollars for years through present day. Our village was warned in 2013 on record that our funds would be depleted by 2015. This did not stop greediness or the misuse. Take-home cars continued to be purchased with freedom to rack up miles, wear and tear, gas, automatic starts being put on, all under the taxpayer's dime. While our funds plummeted, new job positions were made, additional secretaries added, and many existing employees changed from hourly to salary. Jobs appointed to family and friends with little qualifications and most without advertising. Employees forging signatures, falsifying timesheets, getting caught stealing, later to be promoted and given city contracts, and flat out not even coming to work. And if you look around, there's cameras, and it's because of that. Employees buying and selling vehicles that should be handled by a finance department clerk treasurer. There literally is no employee accountability here. All representatives, including the mayor, council, and departments, need to work together for the common good. This is where I'm asking you to take a short drive, the 1.8 miles like I was saying before. Examine your aging city buildings. Take note of the countless abandoned, dilapidated business buildings. There's one with duct tape on it on Bailey Belt. And then compare it to our surrounding cities. Compare old pictures, like I said before, on social media. It's truly heartbreaking, it's unacceptable, it's embarrassing. This is what the current, lots of talk, no action, elected officials have allowed to happen. Council and mayor were constantly warned of depleting funds, yet the misuse of our hard-earned dollars were still depleting. We deserve better. I come from a family you know, you trust, and I want things to be honest, fair, and transparent. I'm committed to public integrity, loyalty, and honesty. I was thinking, we need to consider term limits. History has shown that term limits ensure peaceful political transition, and it's a normal, predictable event. Term limits would enable the use of the position to manipulate. The rising generation of political leaders bring fresh ideas and possible policy changes. It provides more people with real work experience from all walks of life that better represent the taxpayer and community with real work experience. And finally, I would reevaluate the take-home car ordinance. Aren't you tired of watching our village drastically decline and all the broken promises? Because I am. Our village is a prime location with easy access to all major highways. We have an excellent school system, a top-rated school system, exceptional safety forces. We have wonderful services for seniors and recreation department that not only have my boys love, but I enjoyed as a child. We have so much potential. The current leaders have lost their way and they just don't care anymore. The mayor just sent my father, who passed away 10 months ago, an invite to his re-election campaign. That tells me that he doesn't care to confirm who he's sending things to. It is time for change. Our village deserves better. This is your hometown.
I'd like to also thank everybody for coming out and spending the time getting involved in the village. I've been on council for 12 years and worked with the mayor while we see things differently, I think he cares about the village. I think he's done a good job. I think he's done the best he can. I just think we have a different skill set that is needed. I can honestly say that I've never seen any corruption. It's just, we're in a different time and what we need to go forward. I also agree that we need to bring back some of the community events like home days. We need the support of the current administration in order to do that. The administration stopped home days because we didn't get the volunteers and it wasn't making the money. But Luann and I ran the prize raffle booth for 10 years. And every year, we had fun. And that booth had $40 of expenditure and $2,000 of revenue. And we sell 6,000 tickets. And you have to make it fun, and you have to make it, people will get involved if they're appreciated. So if you create an environment that's fun for people to be part of, the revenue is nice, but it's the community involvement to bring back. So we have to create that environment in order to want people want to get involved with that. Also with the Fall Festival, and also with the tree lighting ceremony. People get upset with me because I tell the truth. Everything I've said 2 years ago, 4 years ago, in this campaign is 100% factually true. And I challenge anybody to find one thing I've said that is not true. And that's what, I don't tell people what they want to hear, I tell them where we actually are. And I just ask for your support to give me a chance to show what we can do within this community. I have a degree in marketing, I have experience in marketing, I have a plan, and go forward. If you're happy with the way things are, you'll be ecstatic if I'm elected. Thank you.
I mentioned earlier petty jealousies, dirty politics, and lying. Home Days was not stopped by the administration. The president of the park board, Mark Lasky, is seated out there. He knows that this administration has the utmost support for anything the park board does, including the upcoming events. I chaired Home Days 9 times. So did my friends as I was growing and getting to love this community the way you folks do. You can make people accountable. Mr. Leahy fails to tell you that when he was the treasurer of the park board, he decided not to pay taxes for 3 years. Didn't file taxes. We lost our 501c3 status. We spent thousands of volunteer-raised dollars to get out of that mess. Okay? Accountability. Everybody up here loves this community for various reasons. I love it because when I moved here, I was as selfish as everybody else. The first day that I went to a baseball game for my young son, it was in Newburgh Heights, and Brooklyn Heights kids were wearing hand-me-down uniforms with blood stains and dirt on them. And the Newburgh kids wearing nice uniforms. Todd and I grew up in Parma Heights. You love getting your uniform and keeping it and stuff. So my selfishness says, how do I get involved so that my children can have uniforms as good or better than Newburgh Heights? That's what I live by in this community. I try and work with you, shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand, to make this place the best it can be. The truth of the matter is, folks, that when casino gambling came in, pretty much Home Days and carnivals kind of went down. If we want to bring back, I hope that October 9th, you folks come down there, because this is the new way of doing things. A professional concert, food trucks, fun for the kids. That's the greatest start that I've seen in a long time, and I fully support that. You know, I may have to do a video myself this time. Again, I operate like I was taught from the beginning. I have a campaign fund. I accept campaign contributions. I hold an employee Christmas party every year. I do a lot of donations back. When our vendors and our friends write checks into my campaign fund. I don't get that money. It's very clear how that money can be spent. In 2019, I pumped about $4,600 back into this community for my campaign fund. Service club donations, sponsorships, so on and so forth. Somebody mentioned Shop with a Cop, things that go out beyond our borders. We're in this together, folks. We're in this together. The car stories that you keep hearing, I didn't invent that. There's always been a building department car. There's always been a mayor's car. There's always been a police chief's car. There's always been a fire chief's car. The only thing that I did was I changed it so that we had to pay for that privilege of using that vehicle miscellaneous. And I'm proud of my employees that attend functions and take their village vehicles there, because you know what? We're all in this together with our school district and everything else. People love seeing me on the chain gang for 32 years. They love seeing me at the games, not just because my grandchildren are there. I'm there for all kinds of functions, and they're proud to see you there. Our image and our liability is the reason that the departments have cars, not to misuse or for crying out loud. Certainly didn't buy my car. Thank you. And thank you all for attending. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to speak to residents, and I'll keep you posted on when I need to roust you up again to keep that permit denied. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank all of you guys for sitting here for so long and fielding these questions. Thank everybody for showing up. Hope you had a chance to ask the questions that you wanted to ask. Safe travels.
Thank you guys.
You're welcome.